October, 6:02. Let me go ahead and confirm our roll call. Does anybody know if Zach is?
Hey, Zach,
Yeah, he's on his way.
are you having a hard time getting into the meeting or to the door? We'll come let you in. We'll come let you in.
All right, so I'm gonna pause for a moment to take a look and give Zach a second to get back here, so he is not counted as tardy. Yeah, let's just go ahead and we've called the meeting to order. All board members are in the building, and we'll say our Pledge of Allegiance now. 3, 2, 1. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right. So we're going to first go into the, we have any guests or public attendees? I don't see any. Is anybody online? No, I don't see any. Anybody else okay with that? We go on to the next. So we'll go ahead, final draft fiscal year 2026 budget, which is old business.
Minutes.
Oh, sorry. Approval of the minutes of November 20th. I'll take them, entertain a motion from anybody who's reviewed them.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. We'll move to a vote. Kingsley?
Yes.
Kim? Susan?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Michael's yes. My apologies. Now, old business, the fiscal year draft budget 2026.
So in the packet, there should be the budget, which is broken up into income and expense. But I handed you out a piece of paper, and Dr. Kingsley, I sent it to you via text. It'll be, but here's the budget at a glance that may help you a little bit. Dr. Chape
Been marking it up.
commented, but I normally don't have this till now, typically. But anyway, for our total income, it has gone up about $250,000 of dollars. There is some uncertainty on one of our contracts about the exact final amount, so we guesstimated the best we could on it. Our expenses down about $29,000, and this year we're not doing any encumbrances. We are paying some things out of this year's budget, the current fiscal year's budget, that are next year's expenses. So like our transfer to our reserve will come out of this year's budget, but ultimately it doesn't change our reserve. You know, that is board policy that we put that 1% in. So that's not a flexible thing unless we bring it to the board. And of course, we want to increase those accounts. Our money market comparison as of November 30th, we're about $257,000 less than where we were last year. Operating reserve, you can see that last year at this time we were at 43,638. This year we're about double that. Next year we'll have about $250,000 in the two reserve accounts combined. So,
And the goal for those two reserve accounts, have we strategically considered capping those at some point, or what their goal would be?
that is in the policy. I can't remember.
No worries,
off
just
the
as long as it's
top
been
of my head.
addressed. Okay.
But there is a point where those are filled with air quotes, and we would no longer contribute. Then we would look at other expenses and that type of thing.
Or contributions could be throttled back to meet to cost of living increases or inflationary adjustments.
Yeah,
So
so
it has the
I
same
think it will
purchasing
be
power.
some time before we get there, but
Okay. Nick, sorry to interrupt.
human resources, you can see it's about $156,000 difference. Some of that's like the 3% increase from last year. Some of it is different positions or people getting increases. But what you can see is last year it was about 73.3% of our budget. This year it's about 72.7. So ultimately it's really holding steady. Uh, and then the lease purchase, we have paid about $200,000 since the past year off the principal. So we like seeing that. So 8.7%, I believe, is what that number is. And there's a lot of line items in the budget, but nothing has really changed significantly from last year as far as where we're allocating. Of course, the main thing is always, because we are a service organization, the human resources part is always the biggest chunk. We don't make widgets, so there's no supplies, there's no transit, that type of thing.
Is this the time that would be appropriate for any board members to bring up any questions they have about the budget? If
Yes.
so, Dr. Kingsley, any other board members have any questions about the budget?
I think Andrew and I kind of already talked a little bit about it before in our one-on-one, but it's you said that our budget revenue is going to be about $200,000 more, you think, coming in, but you're kind of iffy on it. You're not quite sure if it's going to be at about that much. What's the low side that you think it would be?
About 100,000 less.
Okay, so we're anywhere between $100,000 to $250,000 above what we made this year.
So the main reason there's a big difference in the expense, so we are actually less expense this year than we were last year.
Right.
By $29,000. So those were some of the big differences there. Are, I mean, it's $29,000. We're actually pretty flat. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, you and I kind of talked about it. The other thing too is the money market, the interest rates keep dropping, and so we're gonna have less and less coming in from that revenue stream.
yeah, I would say ultimately that's not the biggest source of our income. And I think when I first started here 4 years ago, you know, the interest that we were getting was very little. Over the past few years, it has been nice to be able to work that money for us. But that is not really where we've gotten a lot of income. And I think some of our strategy for some of this will actually get us up. And Susan may have talked about it last month, but one of the things we are going to do is take all the money we can in January and put it in a CD for 6 months to maximize what the interest is. So we are trying to still make sure we are making that money work for us.
That was the most that, yeah.
Any other questions? I just had a few questions and brief comments real quick. I know Andrew and his team on all these line items really do the best they can. Probably we have what, a 29% decrease in total grants and contracts is the way these numbers play out. And some of that is due to reduced grants that are no longer in play. So this isn't a loss or anything else, but one question I had when I was looking at things, and perhaps this is just a comment for next year's budget planning, is it looks like we are spending in our total computer expenses per year 6 figures. And that includes hardware, accessories, service fees, setup, IT, maintenance, and repairs. But in another area where I saw, where was it? The services, Oh, there, no, it's under there, service fees. We spent 124, let's see, approved budget was 64. Okay, so we spent 124 service fees for 2024. For 2026, we're budgeting 70, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What service fees? Well, anyway, I couched it with, there's a lot of fees and other costs associated with computers, communications, security, et cetera, that I think I'm getting a sense, at least in some of my businesses, there is some cost creep there that might be worth looking at down the road, but that's what, how much of our budget, anyway, it's just a comment for the future to try to see if there's potentials for savings on,
So one of the big increases there is the RTI help desk,
Yes.
which is about $35,000.
that's
And
still
so
cheaper than a full IT person, and they're very good.
Yeah.
it's cheaper than half of a full.
Full
I was
disclosure.
gonna say, I think this is our Riverside
Yeah,
company.
well, anyway, it was something I was noticing, and that makes complete sense why it would be that high given that. So thank you for
And
that
so the
clarification.
other thing, so some of the other things is like having Microsoft Office on all the computers, having Adobe on all the computers, having Oracle or whoever it is that provides our EMR, all those things, they're subscription.
Yeah.
Over the past, well, since I've been working, it used to be you could buy a lot of things like with a one-time cost, you could get Office and it would last for like 5 years. Now everything is a subscription.
Mhm,
Well, there's a reason, because it's expensive and they make money,
mhm.
but we can't operate without having Word, Excel. I mean, our Teams meetings are like, this is a Teams meeting,
Mhm.
our HIPAA protected email, all these things. They are a legitimate cost, but I don't like that they're going up either,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to fix it. Like we have Adobe Pro for people and to be able to change documents and share documents. This, for instance, how I sent it to Dr. Kingsley is I scanned it with the app, the Adobe app on my phone. I sent it to him. Some of those things are like, maybe we could take a photo or whatever. It's just,
Well,
I get it.
it makes sense that the total cost would be 30% of the total cost of projected budget next year is essentially for IT troubleshooting and help. I contacted the RTI folks after he gave me their number and stuck it on my notebook. And I explained who I was, what I was needing, and that I was having trouble, couldn't do it, and I normally don't have trouble. And they pointed out, well, if you change your phone, then you can't use your two-factor authentication through the Microsoft Authenticator app because they have to approve your phone to be on that. So they were very helpful for me. And I can only imagine it's working out great, and that's probably the most cost-effective way to go with it. So I'll get off that.
Yeah, I'd say that almost everyone in here has used it. And it is something that I don't have to, Michelle and I don't have to play IT support for everybody.
So, quick question, a side note, and then I have one more. Do we use a deduct meter on our sprinkler systems? Because I will be transparent here. I got a $12,000 water bill from the city of Kansas City because we don't have a deduct meter on our sprinkler system. So what they were doing was they were assuming every bit of water that came through our meter went down the toilets. My water bill was $2,000 for September. My sewer bill was $4,000 because they thought all that water is going down the sewer and they go pay for treatment. I see that the health department's budget is less than I paid at my building down the street because I have to think we have a deduct meter. And what that is, when you put water through your sprinkler system, they put a meter on that and then they deduct your sewer treatment costs off of that. I don't know if it's worth looking at, but
We can check.
Just, but you're not facing a $12,000 bill when all you do is flush toilets in a building and water your grass. So that's something I personally will be taking up business wise with them. Okay, last question, then we'll move on. If my neighbor came to me and took a look at the budget, they might ask, so we have a 15% increase in total human resources from last year to this year. Let's assume 5 to 6% of that is merit increases, COLAs. So are we expanding services, or is there something that we could say to people to explain the 15% increase?
So
I gotta come up with a good question.
one, did we increase the position or did we add a position?
We have a supervisor,
But that was not a full ad.
not a full ad, but it's.
We changed some classifications to add more supervisory staff.
Mhm.
As you know, we are trying to make sure we have the good span of control and we have people that are getting groomed to take that next step. So I'd say that's probably the only thing we have done between the COLAs and whatever raises. But that's just one supervisor position and the increase wasn't $100. So
Just a thought.
I do
I'm
know
sure.
that the adjustment for one of your positions that you had made last year
Yes.
was a significant increase.
That's what I'm thinking too. And were those two positions too. Didn't we?
We made it, wasn't there adjustments made in the scales too?
Yes,
Okay,
for,
good.
That's what
so, yeah.
Making sure.
So last year, you're right, Kim, last year would have been the first time that we had that market, adjustment for a bunch of people, so
Right.
that would
It all
explain.
adds up. You got
And those two
5%.
positions got two different names and, two different sections.
I'm glad you guys know the budget.
Their job. And you're getting every cent you're paying for.
And then some.
You're earning, yeah.
All right. If no other questions, I think we're gonna have,
Actually, I just one more question.
go ahead, Jeff.
So the swope rent went from essentially 20,000 to 30,000. And then we expect it to be 30,000, I guess, for sure. Is that kind of where we're gonna be for another year or two, or what are you thinking for the rent?
You know, that is what it's set at. I wouldn't be inclined to recommend any kind of increase at this point.
Have we got any feedback from them? Is it too much, too little, right where it's supposed to be?
They don't bring up the rent at all, because I don't think it is wrong for them. I mean, I think it's easy enough for them to justify.
That's 2,500 a month.
Is that what it is?
I think we went from
Yeah, I believe
5,000 a
so.
month to 2,500 a month because the volumes were low. We made that adjustment.
The math carries on that. The 30,000 we're proposing that budget.
So, at some point, I think that I would suggest changes in the rent for that space. We might want to link it to monitoring their increase in volumes, because we dropped it from fair market value at 5,000 a month to 2,500 a month because we didn't think they would get the revenue stream early on and have to ramp up. So as they do ramp up, I think it's something that in the back of our minds, we can revisit and take a look at their volumes and some of what their projections were. And when the lease comes due, we can address it at that time.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not recommending it now, is I know that they are not making a killing.
No, and bottom line is you can expect them to be collecting an average of anywhere between 100 and 125 per visit for well visits on an FQHC. You can back into the math, but that again is a question to be addressed at the time that the lease renewal comes up. Okay.
Yep, I'm good.
I think we need to approve this budget. Anyone averse to just going ahead and entertaining a motion?
I move that we, pass the 2026 proposed budget as presented.
All right, Susan makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Zach seconds. There's no further discussion. We'll go ahead and move to roll call vote. Kingsley,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Slaney,
Yes.
Chape is yes. Zach,
Yes.
motion passes. Moving to subcommittee reports, Director.
So you can go ahead and scroll down. You can go to that, to the health department building update. I'll let you all review the, vital record stuff. You know, we continue to get good, good volume there. As far as the building update, we are looking at a few things still with the HVAC. Taylor and Frank and I, but Taylor and Frank are continuously writing and updating the things that they have to do, but we're nearly to the end and things are working well. You know, you always have a few hiccups, and some of that it'll be good once we're done with this, so we can tell what is like just normal maintenance things. When you have big temperature swings of 40 degrees, sometimes HVAC units just don't like doing that switch. And so what's normal and what's out of the ordinary is sometimes hard to tell. But things are moving ahead there. We are, just as an aside, we are probably going to be switching our pest control service. We've gotten some other bids. We've gotten a cheaper bid. We'll finish out. We have Orkin right now, but we had some spider issues, and I basically want to call someone and say we have this issue and I'd like it resolved, and I'd like them to be on the hook for the feedback and orchestrating stuff. I don't want to be involved in it. And that's not at all what happened. We had to make multiple calls over and the complaint originated from Swope. And so we were trying to get it taken care of really quickly. And, you know, I kind of, after the third time we're telling them about pest problems and I'm still seeing creepy crawlies, we had staff go look for alternatives. So our one we will likely go with is about $85 less a month and has some good feedback from people that know. So we're going to try that. We can go ahead and scroll down.
And what's their name? Did we, or you can't say?
I could say they don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
So I might hold off.
Okay, gotcha.
I'll skip number 3. You read it, but someone here will have something to say about that, so I'll let them talk about it. At the end of November, we had gotten 91.6% of our revenue. I know we will exceed 100% on the income because we're already have an inkling of what that's going to look like. Our expenditures were about 89.3%. And so still right on track. We will spend likely every penny of our budget. Scroll down. Already kind of talked about this in my budget at a glance, but from last year, we are about $250,000 less in our money market balance, which that just kind of fluctuates a little from year to year. And then we are $200,000 closer to getting out of the lease purchase obligation. Any questions? Oh, I do have the fun part that Dr. Kingsley loves. We did get 16
Reply.
Customer service surveys, and you can go ahead and scroll down to the good part. So how would you rate our service? Dustin apparently paid well, so all 16 people said 5 stars. How easy was it to use our services? All 16 said 5 stars. And how friendly and helpful were the staff? All 16 said 5 stars. Jackie is one of our nurses in the clinic, and this person said, I thought my visit was wonderful and very professional. Jackie, my nurse who helped me, was exceptional, very professional, educated, and very nice. The front desk staff were helpful and nice as well. Thanks to all of them. I enjoyed my visit. I received my COVID-19 vaccination. She did awesome, never felt the stick at all. Thank you so much. Blessings to all. Sincerely, Patrick. And if you look at the rest, yeah, got to be proud of the frontline staff. It's not, it makes it sound like it's always a party and always fun and a barrel of monkeys. I assure you it is not. And they are patient with people and caring and helpful. And we have quite a few people that have communications barriers. I mean, Kim, I know you worked here, so you know exactly what it's like. But having this kind of feedback is just such a morale booster, I believe, for the staff. Now, what could we do better? Roll down. Gotta love the not applicable and the nothings. You know,
Can't believe you guys are offering donuts instead of healthier options. I mean, my gosh, really? How come I didn't know donuts are up here? I'd be,
so that's kind of funny because it is our staff spending their own money out of their
I
pocket
love it.
to get the donuts.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting a little bit of feedback on. So I will be talking to those staff.
It's so much fun when this is our biggest problem. I'm just enjoying it. I do have a question about the SWOPE clinic. Is that going to be better to be asked when we have the clinic manager? Or
You can ask now if you want.
well, I see this as feedback for the operations of the staff employed by the health department. It's clear that we're getting good positive feedback. Makes me a little bit curious about our responsibility to be staffing a very good, low complaint vendor in here providing the FQHC services. Where are we at on understanding the complaint process, reviewing the complaints on that clinic operation, and or if we are privy to any feedback surveys they may have? Just mostly looking out to make sure we have a good vendor leasing our space, providing services to our citizens. That's where my motivation is.
So I'll go first
Please.
some of that is on here,
Okay,
but they do their own, and then I'll turn it over to Dustin.
and so, but this does reflect clinic patients that attended the SWOPE.
If they see the slides.
Okay,
And really the motivation, and I think I had told everyone here that like when we talk to Clay County, they get like maybe 2 or 3, how often? Like a month, as opposed to 16. And because we're giving an incentive, anyone who sees that sign often will do it. And so
there might be a little selection bias here, but it's still, we're at least 12 to 13% extremely positive. Well, 12 to 13% response out of the 982. We're getting 16. And those are all very, very, very positive. There may be a little selection bias that people want to participate to get their card, but at least we're getting some feedback, which is better than 0. And I think 2 respondents is essentially 0.
then you can kind of look, primary care or is listed in. So when they say healthcare services, we've had 92 total surveys this year. 25 were healthcare services. that's going to be a combination of the public health clinic and SWOPE. So overall, for the people that are doing SWOPE, they're still giving positive feedback.
Okay.
But Dustin, if you want to talk about their survey and stuff.
Yeah, so that was important to us when we were making the survey, is having that option so we can distinguish like what our partners are doing as well as us, because
Well, I meant SWOPE survey.
Yeah.
Well,
but with Swope, we do get feedback from them. I've been trying to get a little bit more. I can talk to them about trying to get a little bit more for each portion of the report, but they do surveys after each visit. They'll send them out to their clients, and then it's a series of questions they can ask, and then they'll have a section for comments. It's very easy for them to copy over and send us the comments. What's a lot more difficult though is them getting like the actual like the ratings for each different question, because they have to manually create like their own Excel table and do that individually, because everything it's tailored to each patient. So it has all like their HIPAA protected information on there. So they're a little hesitant to like send all that out to us and do that, which understandable. So I think it's just more of a time thing for them trying to get like each individual one typed up and sent to us individually. So normally it's just the comments I'm able to put into my report, but I'll try to see if I can try to get them to just do like an overall, if they're able, just to try to pull instead of having
Like a summary.
individual. Yeah.
well, I think this board needs to know what level of surveillance we should hold as far as their performance there. My concern, making sure, is that they don't fall below average, meaning that we are not getting a deal and the services aren't being rendered appropriately, or there's a drop in service. What should our board's level of supervision over their performance be? I don't know the answer to it. Maybe it is monitoring all complaints or monitoring it, but I think that I'm going to suggest this board does have somewhat of a duty to make sure that the services we're contracting out and that we switched over to the FQHC is not falling to substandard levels or average levels. And I don't know if the board wants to take this up down the road, but I just want to point out that I think we do have a fiduciary responsibility as the health department to make sure if we have transitioned those services, that those are still meeting a reasonable standard of care.
So Dustin, I know he'll probably tell you about the frequency of having them come speak, but please.
They can have it, yeah.
Well, I don't know that I, as a board member, don't personally feel the need to have them report to me. I just feel like as a board and your staff that I want to reflect that I think that as a board member, the other board members can speak for themselves. There's a duty that we've made this transition. We're all very proud of. It was very cost effective. Moving forward, 10 years from now, for a future board, if the contracting entity isn't performing well, I think that's something we need to be aware of and figure out how we're doing with that. And maybe that's something for planning.
I
So
think they're
if
gonna come.
Yeah,
They-
so we had,
Okay.
Yes,
you all had requested that they come like every 6 months.
yes.
So
Just so
Dustin's
we can
been
see
working on setting that up,
Okay.
and they had committed to give us the survey result. So please put that on your list of things to send an
If
email.
they're doing internal surveys and every 6 months they can share that with us with a overview of complaint management, or I don't know to what degree the rest of the board is strongly about it, perhaps.
Well, they were supposed to be giving it to us monthly, so we'll remind them.
And
So Andrew oh, sorry, keep going.
go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I don't want to change the subject yet. If you guys are still talking about subject, finish what you
No,
finish.
I think that I shared my concern. Sounds like we're addressing it and we're gonna have the opportunity every 6 months to address it. So I think if nobody else minds, can we change the subject for Dr. Kingsley?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, two questions for you, Andrew. They're both related to each other. So the survey that we did, when you actually, could you just talk about you and Dr. Shafi's experience that when you went to your meeting? Did you bring up the survey and the results? Did you discuss that with other health departments across the state? Like, are they doing similar things? Do we have anything that we can compare ourselves to? I mean, obviously perfect is perfect, which is what all our rankings are, but that may not be that way forever. And so do we have other health departments that are doing similar things that we're doing when it comes to quality assurance, compare feedback, that kind of thing? And then how was the meeting in general, I guess?
So I'll answer the first part. No one that I know of is doing an incentive like we are. And I am not really spreading that too much because I want to submit it for a NACHO, National Association of County and City Health Officers, officials actually, promising or best practice. And before I tell everyone what I'm doing,
Yes.
I want to have it in writing. And we don't, in public health, we don't have trademarks, we don't have copyrights. We're always going to share. But I'd like to get that award submitted, Taylor, so you'll need to get your team to work on that. But before we brag too much about it and everyone steals our idea and does exactly the same thing, I want to make sure people know where that originated from. So that's the first part of your question. The second part, I'll let Dr. Chaffee talk about that, but we participated in the Missouri Center for Public Health Excellence. They had the first annual governmental public health summit. And I believe there was probably 100 and some people there. And the last official session was a panel about relationships between board members and the staff. Primarily, like who was on the panel was an administrator and myself. But people had a lot of questions. So there were some canned questions and then the audience got to ask some questions. But Dr. Chaffee, do you want to talk about that?
In brief, I think the reason for this forum was there is a disconnect in a substantial number of health departments between the board and the staff. And that there are some flat out dysfunctional boards that have to have their board attorney present every meeting. There's been a lot of disconnect and lack of effective communication that, based on the questions we got, that seemed like that was the predicate for this, and that we seem to have, according to everyone else, a very good relationship. I think we're very fortunate with our current director. We're very fortunate with our board members. We shared with them our insights on that, at least I did, and I said, well, the bottom line is, why is the board there? I would ask every board member, what's your goal? If your goal isn't to be the best health department in the state, how do you get there? Then you have to align your goals and put your board members on the hot seat, essentially say, what are your goals? What are your goals as a board member? Give us the marching orders, because you can't do that in a vacuum. So we shared with them that we communicate with that we have some goal settings that we have targeted and try to do everything in conjunction with that. Some of the other boards were having difficulties with a lot of communications, that they're not wanting to fund things, that their strategic plans are not necessarily in lockstep with the advisement of the staff or the needs of the county. So in summary, we kind of got that vibe, and I was very cavalier. I just said, look, find out what your board members' goals are, put them on the spot. What is their goal? What is your goal for performance metrics? Is it outcome measures in your county? What is it? What is it that is tangible for you all to tell your board? What are your goals, and codify them? I don't know what else, if that was a good enough summary. Taylor, you were a witness, and so Andrew and I were participating. I would invite you to give some clarification of something I may have overlooked.
I'm trying to think. You did a pretty good summary. I mean, a lot of places have a lot of trouble with their boards, and so I mean, I think they mentioned they've had screaming matches, and that's why they need to have a lawyer present. So I think a lot of the people have very different
Well, let me point something out, and you guys may not be aware of this.
We're boring.
There are,
No, I'm good with that.
We have-
Don't start screaming at me.
I don't know what percentage of boards are elected. It's not all.
Yeah, that was my
Some are
question. I didn't-
appointed,
Okay.
some report to the commission.
Okay,
And there was one county that said essentially their commissioners don't even have them office space. And that's in transition. If I remember correctly, they currently don't know where they're going to office next month. Because if I may, I apologize to anybody who may be listening in. Essentially, they were saying they were being treated like the redheaded stepchild of the county, if that's fair. And so, addressing these problems are unique to each county. But we tried to point out to them, whether it's a commissioner, whether it's an appointed board, even an elected board, has accountability to the citizens directly. But that's kind of what we tried to point out is, well, what's your strategic plans? Where are you trying to go? And shouldn't every line item and every effort be targeted towards that? Not every county right now can afford to go through the FAB process, but the smallest county in the state has been successful with it. And I think as we had at our last meeting that we're going to try to look at an after action report, try to figure ways and the last item that came up, I threw out a softball comment that, well, how does this look with the potential of a centralized support entity for boards of health, perhaps with a Missouri Board of Health group,
Malvo.
Malvo, to be determined down the road. So,
So this might
And
be a good
yeah,
time.
and so
for
one
you
thing I did
come
want to
up.
say was, so Mosifi did send out a follow-up email and they are asking us to send to our boards to Malvo survey essentially. Kind of just to gauge all of your experience being on this board, being on other boards, your interest going forward, if there's different trainings that you'd like for the state to do, and then if you're interested in doing participating in Malvo, or if our organization is interested. I don't know, there's several questions, so we'll be sending that out. So if you could all fill that out, since I think we've kind of been a big catalyst for getting this started.
So you should probably fill out the survey.
that'd be good to respond.
So Mike, question about real quick.
Go ahead.
What was the feedback when you said that? Were there a lot of people that are interested, or is everybody rolling their eyes when you said that?
I can say what I perceived, and it was, well, when I heard two guys in the back chirping in, I like this guy. Well, I was pretty pedantic. I was pretty black and white and straightforward and called into question saying, why are they there? Has anybody asked them why they're there? And if they're there, if you're going to spend time working on something, why aren't you trying to be the best you can be at it? Or are you just marking time? I challenged them to challenge the people that are responsible for the performance of that department, which is it a commissioner, an appointed board, or an elected board. I kind of left it at that. I think that was well received. I do think that I didn't come in with highfalutin answers and lofty goals and a lot of current buzzwords. I'm just more as a matter of fact, like when they said they have to have an attorney present at this one county. And I said, well, wait a minute. Your board is misbehaving and they're having to pay this council to be there to keep them in line. That's a big problem unto itself. And that board ought to take a hard look at themselves. I didn't mince words, but I think it's better to what my perceptions are in my own head aren't always accurate.
So when he said, someone in the audience said, I like that guy, that could have been John or Scott or me.
I heard it twice. It was, I like this guy.
So then also you often to go to any county in the state to meet with their boards.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
What was I drinking?
You really put yourself out there, haven't you, Faye?
Up on the offer yet? No one's reached
No,
out asking.
But I was so sincere, and you guys know me well enough. I was passionate about the fact that if you are able to ask them the questions, I'll come and chat with them. I'll put them on the spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that probably is more helpful than like us as like health department workers trying to help them, because if they hear from another board member, they might be
Well, and that was some of the comments that,
The 100 people that were there were members,
Yes.
employees of other health departments, or no other board necessarily, other board members, some?
there was only like one other board
Okay.
member and they were on the panel.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Just curious.
but I think the staff that were there, particularly the ones that had trouble with their boards, are looking for any manner of relief to have someone to influence some of how people are acting. I mean, if you can imagine us having a conversation every month in this forum and us being so adversarial that we have to have our attorney here to call out things as a matter of procedure because they can't control the dynamic, that would just be a terrible environment. And I can't imagine people continuing to want to work that way on either side. But to Dr. Chaffee's point, every board that's is set up like us is elected. But then there's city county health organizations, there's different forms of governance.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some advisory boards that are appointed, but even those become an issue. So I believe a lot of people are committed to making this move forward, and the survey you'll get is kind of that first step. But Taylor, if you can make sure you get that sent to them.
I want to give Andrew kudos because he gave a synopsis of the transition of this board back at the election for the three of us.
Mhm.
He laid out what a contentious race it was, that we all busted our butts because we cared and we had an agenda that was to be the best health department of the state, essentially. And that he pointed out that he'd had struggles with the contract issue. I'm not going into details on it, but that when we came in, went into closed session and targeted exactly what do you need, and then we moved on. And he shared with everybody that the previous board was struggling with that at the time, and that he shared how refreshing it was just to be straightforward. Where are we at? What are we doing? And that was well received. He also pointed out that we all did move to more with multiple committees. And we pointed out to get the involvement is easier when you're not having your committee meetings where you're brainstorming recorded. You can say things that you're not feeling like you're posturing. And I pointed out to them that, listen, get the brainstorming done, get the hard work done, then bring it to the rest of the board. And you may just have a couple clarification questions. So we were able to share that functionality with them. He did a great, as always, did just a great job coming at it from their perspective. I did give our perspective. And so I think it really represented Platte County well. But more important than that, I think we're trying to set some groundwork and some foundations for making more substantial changes. And I'll just go out on a limb here. I'm a little embarrassed about the state of Missouri's public health. We are in the 40th of all the states out of 50.
Yeah.
If I was sitting with the governor and the director of DHSS, I'd say, what's your goal? Do you want to be in the 40th? Do you want to be in the top 10? You want to be in 25th? But what are you doing to get there? And I think we're going to have a grassroots initiative, but also get input from the state and let the state drive the agenda for where do we want to be as a state? How does each county participate in getting their metrics up to meet that goal and holding that out as accountability?
So that's exactly kind of what he said. And some of the things that I said as an example of, the meeting with the committees, and I mentioned, I hate to say it because I hate giving Dr. Kingsley a big head because he doesn't need that. But I mentioned our meetings one-on-one every month where we can kind of flush some stuff, just kind of tease out some things, or I can get advice. That is so very helpful. And a lot of those boards, they don't have that. And I think at first I'm like, oh, great, another meeting. But it's proven so invaluable. And I really try never to miss one. I always try to make sure we always have at least a little bit of time to talk. But I talked to Susan yesterday just about how valuable it is to be in the finance committee and to be able to have her input and for us to even explain stuff to her. And she'll ask a question like, well, that does not make any sense. What are you trying to say? But it's really helpful when we come to this meeting and we are prepped a little bit on, whether it be having it in this kind of format. So you can kind of see really quickly a comparison from year to year, how we can get our point across or whatever it might be. When we did the bylaws, being able to have those meetings not in here where it's going to take up 4 hours and almost everyone has had something they've been doing all day. They don't really want to sit around for 4 hours from scratch and talk about the bylaws. And then there's all this discussion where when we're in that committee meeting, Ken can say, yeah, Andrew, you worded that terrible. Please fix that. No one understands whatever kind of stuff you're saying. Yeah. But those things he pointed out, you could see a lot of head nods in the audience or just jealousy because they don't have that.
Well, it speaks to what I think something we shouldn't overlook, and that is we are very, very, very fortunate to have someone with Andrew's experience, his demeanor, his selfless commitment, because it's clear these folks look to him for guidance, and we wouldn't have been invited to speak if they didn't know all the things he was doing. So it's wonderful that we've got a great director who's affording us a chance to share what we think we're doing right with other people. I think everybody in the room would have all the same goals that we've all just espoused, from a state level goals, from a county perspective level goals, from a functionality as a board level goals. That's what I, as a board member, keyed in on because I tried to keep it simple. I think the one simple thing was you got to work with the people who have the responsibility. You can't give them the responsibility without the authority to do things. And so many times boards will not give the authority with the responsibility. And that's what I tried to key in on. So I hope anybody have any questions about anything else?
I just have one comment. I love hearing great stuff about me because it makes me feel good.
But it's true.
Well, I'm going to say I only look good because I have a great team and they make me look good.
Yeah.
So when I have these answers for you, when you ask them, it's because Cindy had a staff member working half a day to get me an answer. It's because Rebecca worked her tail off to get stuff coordinated through the department. Yes, I help coordinate those things, but I have a great team. So I do want you all to understand when they say I look good, it's because of you guys that I look good.
Thank you.
All right.
And it's probably not because of Taylor.
Deputy Director Taylor, are you ready for your report?
Yes. Well, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I do just want to say really quickly that we turned in our accreditation documentation, and I want to just give a huge shout out to Rebecca and all of our staff, because we've had staff work tirelessly, doing lots of work, documenting things. And so we really appreciate all of the hard work on that. And I know that that is a tough role with a lot of things. She's going to talk more in depth about it, but I just wanted to thank her.
Do something to celebrate the submission? As a,
Or you can't pay.
Until we had our Christmas
Okay.
party. I think we're gonna try to do something once we get the actual accreditation.
Okay.
Have
Okay.
a party then, because it's just with the holidays, it got the ultimate staffing.
just
So,
thought maybe you,
Rebecca,
I know.
what I tell you about submitting. I think I told you that means the real work really is going
Yes.
at the beginning.
We will
Because
get
we
into
have
that.
so many things that we want to do now. And so many things. Now I did give, and Cindy was like, yes, thank you, Andrew. I did give us a reprieve till next year, which is what, another
Well, 2
weekend.
weeks.
Well, we have to hit it hard,
Yeah.
getting this other
Yeah.
stuff. And I think Cindy was appreciative of that. But we have a lot of things that we have to, not necessarily like I've mentioned, not to work on for fab, but for us to improve our quality.
Yeah, so
So
things are up.
Taylor, question for you. So now that we've actually sent the accreditation material packets in, they have it now. What are the next steps, and when do we hear if we get finally approved and we've been accepted and blah blah blah, all that fun stuff?
So I was gonna let Rebecca talk about that when she gets to her report, unless you
Yeah.
wanna, I think,
Let's let Rebecca.
is that
talk.
okay,
Yes,
Dr. Kingsley?
I say yes.
You can mute him.
Yeah, okay.
Susan overruled.
Yeah. But I do think this process really brought up a lot of like new other quality improvement projects that we want to do. So it's like every day, it's like I tell Rebecca, add to our 2026. It used to be called our January list. Now it's our 2026 list because we have
4
a lot
pages.
of things.
It's not January.
That we want to do.
It's
So we
like
have-
26, 27, 28.
Yeah, I know. Now it might be the next like 5-year plan. So no, we just have a lot of things that we want to, you know, we really believe in continuous quality improvement. So I think that we're really moving to that. So lots of good things coming, but we figured we could take a beat and enjoy the holidays first. Andrew kind of mentioned we've been working on a lot of HVAC stuff that's been taking up a lot more time than I expected, but I think it feels like we're actually making progress now. So I think we're almost there. So that's good. And one thing I forgot to include in my report, but we did have the cameras installed. So I think, I
Oh,
can't remember if
okay.
it was last month or 2 months ago, that you all had approved the cameras. So now we have cameras looking out at the back lawn. So if we do get an intrusion alarm call in the middle of the night or evening, or for Cindy, just, you know, when she's awake in the morning at 3 a.m., we can look at the
So they're not
cameras.
just out in
She
front,
gets
they're in front and back.
Yeah, so now we can see all of our
Hearing that on TV,
so
that it's.
those have been really helpful. So it's nice that we can tell, we can see from all of the angles.
Out of curiosity, how much time, how much video time is archived, and is it in a very high enough format to be functional?
So
2 months, 1 month?
4K is the-
You got 4K cameras, night
So-
vision. I remember all of that. I wasn't sure about how much capacity we have to store it.
So-
Not that it mattered when we bought it, because you can expand that, but
So it's full resolution, basically, but only when motion is happening. So it records when the motion is happening. And it is set to record it for at least 30 days, but really what it does is records until it has to loop back
go
over.
override.
And it's longer than 30 days. Now, it might be less. We haven't had it even a full month, so I don't know what these additional 16 camera feeds are going to end up doing to our memory.
You should be able to, with 16 cameras on 4K resolution with 8 terabytes, get 2 months of archive if they're continuously recording.
But that's 16 new cameras in addition to
In addition to what you have.
what we have.
So it boils down to how expandable is the recording device's hard drives. So
So
if
we
you
have
ever
a
have an
server
issue
that
with it,
we can't add to.
yeah, just don't let them charge you an arm and a leg just to add some hard drives or change them out. All right.
Right.
On Taylor.
Okay, I got another question for you, Taylor. So you said in the first few cold days we had trouble with the heat working. What was the actual issue? The furnace just wasn't turning on, or what was going on?
Well, we've had a few different issues. So for one of them, the transformer went out on one of our units, but we have fixed that. It was giving like too much electricity. But now we know how to fix that. So Frank, our maintenance technician, knows how to fix it. So we don't need to call out the HVAC people, but they came out to help with that. There was just a couple of other issues, just connecting with the thermostats. Do you remember what the other one was? There's been so many little things.
You jinxed the clinic one day, I know that.
I know. I told Dustin that the clinic was lucky that they weren't having any trouble with
And
the
then-
heating or air conditioning
Very
for the
nice
next day.
But we also.
So I was gonna say, the question I had is, so is this a one-time turning on problem, or every winter we're gonna have to go through this, where when we turn the heater on, whatever, we're gonna have to do spot checking to make sure we don't have problems? I mean, is this, my understanding when we did all this was supposed to be almost idiot friendly, right? And the fact that we keep having issues every time we turn something on gets kind of annoying.
So the low voltage transformer is basically the power that ran the thermostat and the controls. And if that's not running, the unit doesn't come on. That was on RTU 8. It was getting line power to the actual RTU, but that transformer had popped off and we didn't know how to reset it. There's a button. We've never had that problem since we walked in. So that's an entirely new thing that we'll watch for. But I think it was kind of a one-off.
Okay.
RTU 5 that he was talking about, it got stuck where, because they're heat pumps, they need a defrost cycle. It wasn't defrosting. And so we weren't getting any heat. As soon as we powered it off and got it to reset, it started pouring out all this water, defrosting, and then it worked like a champ. That's how she jinxed Dustin. We mainly need Taylor never to say, hey, things are working great.
I know. That's why I was like, I don't
Every
want to
time
say
she
that it's
says
working.
that, there's a new thing.
And
Yeah.
Hales
So
has set the threshold upon which our heat pumps will kick off and go to electrical or gas heat, where it's not as efficient at some point. Do we know?
So that is built into the RTU.
Correct, okay.
And these are super high efficiency units. So that point isn't till like 0 degrees.
Good enough.
Most heat pumps are like right at freezing.
I just knew the settings needed to be addressed, because if they hadn't been from install, they could be cutting off at 32, but their efficiencies are better. So again, our vendors have set those up to standard manufacturer specs.
Right.
We're right, okay.
Now we're learning more about, like, we didn't necessarily know all that, but we're learning that stuff every day.
Go on, Jeff.
I was gonna say, so now that we're kind of problem solving these things as we've been going on, are we keeping like a manual of frequently asked questions or whatever, so that 10 years from now or 5 years from now, if it's all new people, they don't have to go through the same rigmarole, that they just know what they need to do immediately?
I don't really care about the people to come after me.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. So one of the
A
things,
maintenance guidance book or manual is reasonable.
Yeah.
so one of the things that we have, and we have talked about it here briefly, is a software system called MaintainX. And that holds all of our vendors. It also holds all of our troubleshooting things that we have to do scheduled every year or every month, depending on what the item is. So like Taylor had talked about the water heater that went bad,
Mhm.
all those notes and everything that we are, like, they gave us to do preventive maintenance, like flushing it and I don't even remember, but that got into MaintainX. So it comes up and says, we need to do this. And so every winter season, what we'll be putting together is, here's the checklist of things that we need to do. So exactly what you said, it's just electronic.
Okay.
And it's important to maintain warranty. And there are some services that our maintenance people can't do well, which I think we probably were contracting either with some HVAC vendor to come out annually to do things that our maintenance guys can't. So unless we can do them all.
So we don't have that yet. You have started to ask a question before either I start talking or Dr. Kingsley about who has our preventive maintenance contract for HVAC.
But I haven't yet.
Unfortunately, we've never gotten past like the install / warranty stage.
In a few more years, we'll figure it out. I'm just
We
kidding.
need to
I'm being,
get out of,
I'm tongue in cheek, yeah.
because I think
All
I
right.
told Taylor, we need to get to the point where we just know what we need to do on these systems.
All right. Taylor, let's go on so we can get through your report.
Okay, well, environmental and health ed have been busy. There's been lots of events over the last few months with holidays coming up. I think one of the biggest highlights is probably the Platte City holiday lighting ceremony. I think a lot of people enjoyed that one. Another big thing is that we've gotten some donations lately, some monetary and some physical food. So Trisha, our health education supervisor, is the chair for our healthy access to healthy foods task force. So we've been doing the harvesters food distribution, which also serves as an emergency response drill. So we do that every month, and over the last couple months, we've seen a lot more food insecurity, especially when there were some the break with SNAP and federal government shutdowns. So we got a lot of donations from the Platte County Prosecutor's Office, and then a local church, some local churches and banks donated. So that's been really helpful. And also, I just wanted to mention that we're there. The Northland Health Alliance is going to be having a Taste of the Northland event, which is going to be a fundraiser where half the proceeds are going to go to the Access to Healthy Foods Task Force, and the other half is going to go to an organization called Feed Northland Kids. We work with, you might have heard of them.
So Taylor, will you email them that info?
Yeah, I can email you information on that, but that's going to be on February 1st. And at the Embassy Suite. So the location is being donated, and then a lot of different businesses around are sponsoring. Different food entities are going to be giving out food samples. So tickets and proceeds will go to partially to our Access to Healthy Foods Task Force.
Not that I expect you to know this. Out of curiosity, I've had some very good experiences with we're getting a lot more restaurants in Platte County, as is indicated by the increase in food cards over the last several years. Yes, I read all the notes. We're up over to 530 something food cards in the last year. So, but I'm curious, there's several newer restaurants within the last 3-4 years that I'm sure would love to participate, but they might be curious if their participation in donations are supporting their county or someone else's. I don't know if there's more information on it. I can go, is there a website that they're doing this Taste of the Northland?
It's on the
Northern Health Alliance. I'll go to
I
that.
can send out that information. I mean,
Now, I was gonna cold call some of these restaurant owners
I can
who
send you the sponsorship
know
form as
me.
well if
Yeah.
you're interested. People that might be interested.
Just trying to gin up
now they
business.
are looking for local businesses, and yeah, it's basically a form of free advertising. So,
Well, I would send a personal email, not one as my board email, but inform them that this is going on if they'd like to look at a higher profile for themselves. As a
Right.
citizen of Platte County, I'm aware of this event, thought you should be aware as well. So wasn't sure.
and so it's
I'll
some
look
to
at it.
us in Clay County, so like the Northland Health Alliance, so we do a lot of stuff with them. So it was.
And I don't know that it'd be an appropriate team and do it as a board member.
I'll run it by you. And I think the rest of the board will be fine if you think it's appropriate. I'm just really cautious with,
We can't do it because we regulate all these
Right.
facilities.
Mhm.
So
but I, as a private citizen who happens to serve, can make them aware of an opportunity that's generating revenue. So that's how I would do it. But yes, I can say I happen to also be, but this is from me as a citizen of
yeah,
Platte County.
and that's fine.
Okay. Taylor, anything else?
I think that's it. Any questions?
I have a couple things I want to add to your, so one thing, and I've just made an executive decision, and you can tell me that you don't like it. And
We're
we'll
good with that.
change that. But as she mentioned, we have gotten donations of food and different things that people wanted to donate to. So basically, we either through WIC or through clinic visits, or as we encounter people, we may help them with the pantry. But one of the bigger things is through the harvesters, food distribution, like we had a church contact us before Thanksgiving. They had how many baskets of, I don't remember how many, it was quite a few, and they said, hey, if you know people that could use this, we'd like you to distribute them. So we told them we would do it. I mean, we're already there, and Trisha really knows a lot of the families that need help. But we've also had some monetary donations. So like someone donated 25 or 10 $25 Aldi gift cards.
Wow.
Dr. Parker just told us that her sports team has a foundation. They're making a $5,000 donation to the pantry to us. What I have done is I have said those are restricted funds that are going into, like, those are community funds meant for a specific purpose. Those are only meant for those things. We have done that in the past. That is what we were doing. So if you see something in the budget about, and when it was $50, it wouldn't tickle anyone's curiosity. When we see a $5,000 donation, I think you might ask, so what's this 5,000 and why do we have this money going out to buy food or whatever?
Great move.
That is what that is.
Great move. I think that's ideal.
So I just felt like it would not be appropriate to do anything but that. People gave us that money
For that.
for a
For that,
specific
yeah.
purpose. And if it's in line with what we're already doing and not creating more of a burden and serving our Platte County citizens, it felt like the right thing to do. But
Yeah,
if the board has any concern, please tell me.
No, I think that's appropriate, and I think it's important when we get donations like that, that we honor the wishes of the person donating it as well. I think it would behoove us to like document it in some way that that was their wish, and you know, just as far as covering ourselves as
Yeah, so
putting those monies towards what they intended it to go to.
So I think everyone's familiar with the audit process and, you know, one of the big things that Cindy and her staff are excellent at is cash control. So while I may take $5,000 and just slide it in an envelope behind a picture in my picture frame, Cindy frowns on that. She does not think
You're gonna
that's
lose
a good.
3% on inflation every year.
So, you know, we need to account for it, but we also need to make sure that it doesn't get mixed up.
I know where I'm going envelope hunting soon. All right.
I think there was maybe one more thing. Can you scroll back up?
Oh, the beacon.
The other thing is Taylor has in her report that we met with Beacon Mental Health. Northland Healthcare Access has been funding their counselor that works out of this office. Northland Healthcare Access is a little bit in transition, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with that funding. And when we talked to Beacon, they were under the impression that we had some type of like written agreement or MOU with Northland Healthcare Access to provide the space. We did have a funding mechanism through them at one point when we were doing the clinic, but we haven't had that for some time. And so we drafted, Jen actually has drafted just an MOU with Beacon to have, they want to continue working out of here. We want them to continue working out of here. So it's just an MOU that says they're allowed to work here, has some stipulations on things like we want to just make sure we get in writing, but just want to make sure the board has no issue that we continue to do what we've been doing.
doesn't sound like an action item, sounds like an informational piece. And like your last comment, you made an executive decision. I think as the executive director, or the director, that's in your purview and that's in your job description. And I thanks for letting the board know about it. And I think I can speak for the board on this one. 100% agree with your move there, and you've got our support.
Yeah, I just don't want any surprises.
And I think having the attorney write those guidelines will be very good.
Well, when we talked to them, I had no idea what they were calling about. A lot of things was going through my head. And when it came to that, I'm like, well, that's a softball because it's,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of citizens, particularly in the more rural parts of Platte County, that get services from Beacon and they come here,
Mhm.
and it is so much more convenient for them than going to the main campus. And I love the fact that we can provide that.
And that'll be
That's
something
needed.
we're gonna have the opportunity to wrestle with as there's a lot of funding changes with mental health in the region coming down the pipe. Okay,
Sorry, Taylor.
Yeah.
Now we're
That's
ready
it.
for Dustin.
all right, Dustin, clinic manager.
So just keep it short and brief. I know you had a couple questions last month about Swope Health and then wanting them to come and be able to present. So I met with them last week and did follow up with I'm gonna butcher her last name. So Brandy, if you see this, I apologize. But Brandy Finocherio, she kind of worked a lot when we were doing the transition to Swope Healthcare. They're working on the back end, trying to arrange a time to when it'd be best for them to come to a future meeting. They have all the times for our board meetings going in through 2026. So waiting to hear back from them when they finalize on that. I also did reach out to them and see if they could provide the data for us about how many uninsured patients are attending their clinic. So they're working through that because they just have to go through all the different and pull that information. But once that's available, I'll make sure you all have that. Finished up, we're done with students for this semester, so we'll be getting a lot more coming in next spring. So very much looking forward to that. We got a lot of positive feedback from both the students, the teachers, and even from staff who really enjoyed having them here. So it'll be a fun little partnership to continue going and growing with that. Probably one of the more fun things we got to do. I gotta give a huge kudos to Jill. I don't know if any of you been on our Facebook page recently, but trying to recruit like a new public health nurse team lead. We made a little recruitment video on there.
Play it.
I saw it.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I have
Are
seen
you
it.
guys okay with that?
Yeah, I need to,
Any
I'd
objections?
love to see it.
Want
Okay,
to see it?
No, just an X.
oh, good, 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 good.
Volume.
Interested?
It just goes around.
So we were trying to do something fun, just kind of help entice people that some people probably don't think a lot of what we do in public health. They have a different perception about what it actually entails. So wanted to kind of help advertise that this is actually we're like to think we're a fun group and that there are a lot of pros to working in public health. Like being a nurse, having that flexible schedule is pretty nice. Coming from working nights, I definitely see the appeal to it. So I actually ran into quite a few former employees here at a visitation earlier today, and a lot of them had seen the video and like all really loving it and sharing it with their friends. So hopefully it will help us with some recruitment. We kind of talked about it prior to posting it and like trying to have like this same thing kind of going with any future job openings, just try to recruit a broader group of people with that. So thank you for all the staff who worked on that. It was really, really great. WIC is working on like their new web-based basically HR system for their WIC Association, Missouri WIC. They did start it up. It went live just this past week. So they're still kind of learning, getting used to it. I know it was a little bit slower than they expected, but it's because a lot of people are all trying to get in right now in the system. And so they're just kind of working with that into like their workflow. Swope didn't have a huge increase into like their numbers they were seeing compared to last year, but it was still an increase. And I did, like I said earlier, received a few comments from their client satisfaction surveys, and I included them in the report as well.
So we're getting, and as Dustin mentioned, we're getting the comments, we're just not getting the other numbers. So a lot of times the comments are reflective of people's overall perception. The other thing is getting 19 or 16 or however many we got for our survey, largely because of incentive. When people get the automatic kind of survey thing, people are either super happy or super mad. That's why they
Polarizing. Surveys in that setting are very
we actually
polarizing.
talked about that. We must have talked about that at that meeting because that had come up. You had said it.
Yep.
So I just stole your material.
No. They're all good ideas. All great ideas are plagiarized.
And then I'll follow up with the nursing director too, see if we can try to get and work more and trying to get the actual.
It's just in the context of feeling like, are we as a board making sure we're monitoring this change appropriately? Doesn't have to be the cat's meow of all oversight and governance roles, but just that we are not abandoning it, that we are paying attention, we are looking out for the interests of the citizens of Pike County who use the clinic that leases space from us.
Based on feedback from staff and some clients that we have that we do share back and forth, it does seem to be a positive atmosphere over there that they enjoy.
All right.
Where are you at on your flu vaccine this year?
Vaccines pretty much all around are pretty much down this year.
Really?
I do know that over the past few years, we've definitely seen a huge decrease in like us giving out flu shots. A lot of that too, I talked with Andrew a lot about this, is that there's so many other competitors out there who are offering incentives for your flu shot. So, go to Hy-Vee, you get your fuel there. So that's pretty good to have. If I had a choice, like I obviously have to support us here, but it's really tempting to say, oh no, sorry, I got my flu shot at Hy-Vee.
And any unused vaccines that you have can be returned and gotten credit
So,
for.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
So, and then I try to use like each year, just go through and seeing like what we did, and then try not, base my ordering based on that each year. So, one thing I did notice, we did do a lot more flu block this year than we have in the previous few years. It's the recombinant vaccine. It actually, we went through all of our doses pretty early on in the season, and then it must have been pretty common elsewhere. I think they did lower the age of it to 9 years of age and older are able to receive it. So I think that's what depleted its stock pretty early, because we couldn't even order any additional doses after we had run out. But so maybe think of that next year.
All right.
All right, pardon my voice, I get virus of the week with my toddler going to daycare.
I apologize. I'm gonna check the plumbing while you get started, because I think I have a good.
You kind of know how this is
I
gonna
read
go.
every bit of that.
Oh, well, that's good.
Look at
So
those colors.
I know, I just want to show you all the rainbow. Here it is. So, yes, we were able to actually submit our accreditation documentation on November 25th, 2 days before Thanksgiving, not the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. I wanted everyone to have that wonderful break, and we got there. And again, I took over this job in June 26th, and July 8th, I went to an accreditation coordinator retreat, and we talked about where we were in the process and how far we had to get there. And once I kind of told them where we were, several of them pulled me aside at the break and said, you're gonna need to talk to your board because you guys aren't gonna hit that mark. We accredited 3 times. Like I'm not. This isn't like a mean thing. Just know that you guys are at 26%. You're not going to make it. And I said, well, We made a commitment, and if anyone can pull it off, like, I really think we can at Platte County Health Department. And so we're gonna give it a try. And then I thought to myself, tell no one about this conversation. And so I am gonna even tell Taylor about it. So I didn't tell everyone that until after we hit the submit button. And
Wow.
to be honest, they were right. I could not have done this. So we had a lot of long hours. We put a lot of people together, but every time there was a wall we were up against, I'd bring this up to somebody and we'd figure it out. So we could not have done this without everybody. And on that note, we're already kind of taking this on the road a little bit. I'm presenting in the next month to 3 different groups around the country about this.
Around the country.
Well, I'm on a group where there's coordinators in Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan.
Virtual.
Virtual. Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, God,
I'm not getting a virtual van and heading out, but yeah, I'm going on tour.
She's on virtual tour.
Yeah, I'm on tour. So, and we've already given folks different things that we've done, and they all want to know what we've learned, how we pulled it off, what they can do. So, yeah, that's kind of the first step, is to kind of share what we have, and I'm gonna
And
start.
to coordinate the staff to be able to do things, because they
Yes.
could have bucked you
Yes,
quite a bit, but that's
so
a gift to do too.
right. So that's the plan, is to try to help people out, get them going, give them, while it's still fresh. What could we have done better? How could we have done this? So again, this could not have happened without the staff giving it everything they had. So I think the next step was, the question was kind of where we go from here. Okay. I will not get too in the weeds on this at this meeting. But basically, we give them our documentation. They begin looking at it on December the 3rd. And then they have a rough timeline that they will review things in the next 75 to 180 days. And then after that, in that time frame, they will give us, they'll reopen measures. And they reopen measures, they say, hey, this didn't meet the standard, or we have questions on that. And once they've given us all the measures they've reopened, it could be anywhere from 12. I've heard up to 140. I'm hoping we're towards the 12 end of the spectrum. We have 45 business days to make the corrections. So this matter, it's 12 or 140, we have that amount of time. Okay, so then after we send back those measures that we've reopened, working with the accreditation specialist, the site visit team has, they say 42 to 70 days to re-review that, and then we'll schedule a site visit. Now, I did the math, and the short end of that could be, the site visit could be in July or all the way to potentially November. So there's a lot of time lapses that could potentially take place. And I'll keep updating that time frame as we hear more. But I've heard a lot of people are on the back end of that spectrum. They seem to be backlogged with documentation.
Right, so this is like a very rough estimate,
Yeah.
and that they've sort of given us. I think they say it'll take around probably 6 to 8 months for them to get back to us, but a few people have been on less than that, but most people have been more, and I think some of the local counties, I think Jackson County said it took them almost 10 months to hear back from them, so yeah, I mean, we don't really know, but we're open and flexible, and we'll be ready when they get back to us.
And I'm hoping to brief everyone like we're on the short end, and then we have time to continuously work on things.
All right.
In the meantime, so that's what we're looking at, and since it's initial accreditation, it will be 2 different days. The first day is virtual, and then the second day they come in, they're normally not back-to-back days, but the second day they come in, they want to see the space, they want to meet community partners. They will want to meet a member or 2 of the board. We'll get into that later. And we coordinate that. We will get into a lot more of that later, but that's kind of the idea, is they want to see that it's clean. We have the signage that we're supposed to have. We have everything we need to be a functioning health department.
Great.
What questions so far?
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you say how many pages?
Oh, we
Oh,
submitted
pages?
2,057 pages.
It was close to 3,000.
It was close to Yes, something
900.
957, you know, I should have put that on
It
the
was
board
almost
report.
3,000,
Yeah.
yeah, pages of documentation that we turned in.
Yeah.
A
So,
lot of stuff.
yes, but we did, ours was more concise than a lot of health departments, so that's new, pride ourselves on, so.
Keep these thoughts in mind because I will be asking, I will be wanting to meet with everybody who was involved with this, like an after action meeting for the purposes, and I said this last month, for the purposes of figuring out what we can do to find it easier for other counties in the state of Missouri to go through this process, because I'm gonna look personally at FAB.
Mhm.
How do they know what they're doing is having an effect? When we went to the NALBO conference, I asked the question of the FAB representative, do you have data showing that accreditation improves health outcomes with the folks you're working with? And the short answer was no. We're trying. But again, to take a county and have them go through how much HR money we may have spent for this, how many pages of documentation, to me, it should be more of a best practices model. How do you execute it? To me, it sounds like it should be a little bit simpler, but keep in the back of your mind that we're going to have an opportunity to give them feedback.
Mhm.
And also look out for the smaller groups that don't have our funding in this state. Set an example of, okay, how can we get them through this process and help them, sort of like a Malbo might be a support to it a little bit. So just keep in the back of your minds that I'm really going to ask that question because this just seems to me personally, not as a board member, cumbersome,
Yeah.
inefficient, and it may not be targeted to have the most bang for the buck for all of the expenses it takes for a health department to get accredited. Because it's essentially a giant CQI item, giving it structure and guidance, but it may be too big an elephant to try to take on for some smaller groups when they look at the cost, the HR, the lack of support from the state and other places. So I think we've got a chance to be leaders in the state by maybe looking at this, just even in a meeting, if it's too cumbersome and not worth it to us to do, fine. But I share that now so that we kind of have that in the back of our minds as we're looking through stuff.
FAB has
Yeah,
asked for fee. Go ahead, sir.
Jeff, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I agree completely. I mean, the counties that are gonna be difficult to deal with to do accreditation, if they ask the same question, well, what's the point of doing this if you can't tell us if it actually makes a difference? That's a bitter pill to swallow. So that there has to be some kind of objective data to show, yeah, getting accredited really does help because X, Y, and Z. So that has to be fixed. Otherwise, what's the point of doing that?
And FAB has only been around since 2012, so it's a relatively newer, organization. So I'm assuming that they're going to be collecting data over the coming years. I think they've been really pushing more people to do it. So, and health outcomes take a long time to change,
And measure.
Well, that would be my first question is, where's the data that shows implementation of policy? How soon and how much of an effect can it have? And it seems to be a very nebulous target that is changing a little bit, but I'm very objective. I want to know, all right, our job is for the health and welfare of the citizens of Platte County. How do we know we're improving it? What are the metrics? What are the measurables? Some of them are going to be not as objective as others, but still, we're all here doing a job. We've taken a responsibility to improve the health and wellness of the citizens. How do we know? I think on its surface, a robust CQI process makes sense. That's justifiable. But what isn't is this the best route for other counties to potentially achieve those improvements in health outcome? And if nobody's measuring it and FAB isn't, it's questions.
And so that's one thing that we're working on right now is giving feedback to FAB. So they've actually requested measure by measure feedback. So we're giving like Rebecca's working on collecting it from our staff members because I think we do have a lot of feedback for them. So we are kind of saying what things we felt were useful, what things they need to either describe better or what they need to what areas they should focus on more or different things like that.
Who else accredits in the country.
They're the only national.
Yeah.
Public health accrediting body. There are local ones. There's, the Missouri, it's called Mitch.
Institute.
This is the
for
first one they've worked
Community-
together.
Community health.
So it's gonna be a little rough at first.
Sounds like a discussion down the road.
Well, yeah, and they're
We'll
wanting
tie
to
up
rebid
tonight's
in 2026 because they've gotten this feedback from a lot of folks. So it's gonna be a learning process, but I have worked with other health departments. About a week before we submitted, I was down. And,
If they ask us, if they ask us for feedback, I mean, that's a legitimate piece of feedback is
Yeah.
what is the objective data to show that this is helpful? Doing bureaucratic paperwork just for the sake of doing bureaucratic paperwork is not a justification. There has to be
Right.
X, Y, and Z of this is quality improvement, and these are the solid measures that show that.
And I know you've said this several times, I've just forgotten, is how long, once we're accredited, is it 3 years or 5 years?
5 years,
5 years.
yes. Yes,
And they have gotten a lot of feedback from me just about how they they don't share stuff. Like you can't get their other submissions. And like I've said, public health isn't trademarked, copyrighted. Like when we try to get examples and like, they're very vague. And I'm like, I'd love to just see what 5 other county health departments our size has submitted.
Mhm.
I'd like to be able to see that. And if we like it, I want to steal it and use it. And they are so anti that. Every opportunity I have, I'm like, that is ridiculous. You are making people start from a blank sheet of paper every time, and that's not necessary.
They're very
That's
secretive.
ridiculous.
I don't know
Make
the
everyone
reason behind
reinvent the
that.
wheel.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But we are trying to work with Nastifi to,
At least in this state.
at least in Missouri, to kind of have more sharing, with accreditation things. Cause I mean, we were reaching out to lots of the health departments that have been accredited, asking, could you give us an example of what you did for measure 1.2.7? And they would, send it to, I mean, most people are pretty willing to share. So we're working with Nastifi to have kind of like a statewide system where people can share all of that stuff just on some sort of online somewhere so that everyone can access it while they're going through that process, or other documents as well.
Rolling out.
Accreditation was a big impetus for it, but
More to come on that.
Yeah.
And more to come on how we might help the state,
okay.
learn from our experience and make suggestions, so.
Yep.
Anything else, Rebecca?
That was the crux of it.
Any questions for Rebecca? All right. Let's go to committee chairs, finance.
Yes, Finance Committee met on December 11th. And most of our meeting was with Ryan Stewart from Nottaway Bank, having a presentation and giving us pros and cons on debit cards versus credit cards and the merchant services, the little machines that they use to charge or
Take credit card.
take credit cards, yes. And then we just kind of talked about the proposed budget that we were going to present tonight. And then that was about it. We did not make any decisions on the credit card or debit cards as of this time. We're going to meet more in February, March. So that just had the presentation. Did I miss something?
Susan, did we talk about the meeting that I went to? We were talking about how we were gonna go forward with money markets and all that kind of stuff. Did you guys decide how you want to do that?
Not at this meeting.
Yeah, we tabled that for January to see where we're at and what we're going to do.
I was gonna say, if they just drop the interest rate, then they may drop them some more. So I don't know if we want to wait too long. So if we want to lock into something more long term, I don't want the interest rates to keep dropping before we do that. That might not be very helpful. I'm not saying
We don't-
we need to meet tomorrow, but I'm just saying I don't know if you'd want to put it off for too long.
Well, it'll be the January meeting because we don't have the money yet.
Good point.
So
All right. Anybody object if we move on to financial report, which,
I just have one thing to mention.
please.
It's my understanding for the bylaws, we will do those in even years, so we'll need to make a plan, correct, for next year.
Yeah.
A meeting date, so we want to do that.
If
I
we have
think we
that-
specified exactly that. So Cindy Cogan, can you please make sure we get that on the calendar and work with Kim to get that on the calendar?
Was that articulated in the bylaws when that would occur? I think it was, yeah. So, yeah, good point.
Yes.
Yeah, when we rewrote it, we said specifically when it was going to happen.
Great.
But Kim has to always be on top of things,
You're funny.
at least here.
All right. Let's go on to financial report. I think we've seen the budget. We've seen last year's numbers. Does anybody have any questions about any more information for our financial report?
No.
Since we did approve a budget and everybody's looked at that, I feel fine moving on.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just need to review and approve the bills.
I would entertain a motion to review and approve the bills. Susan, is there anything of concern that you'd like to point out to the other board members?
Not that I noticed.
I would entertain a motion to pay the bills.
I moved to pay the bills.
Is there a second?
Second,
So Zach made a motion. Susan seconded. Kim seconded. If there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead to roll call vote. Kingsley?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Swaney?
Yes.
Shuffy? Yes.
Zach, yes.
All right. So we've got a couple fee resolutions to take a quick look at. Does anybody need any further clarification on the who wants to present this, the December 18th fee resolution for Public Health Emergency Preparedness Amendment 1? Speaks for itself. It looks like the contractor,
There's no fee resolution.
okay.
you were talking
I
about
think
that.
what you're talking about.
Oh, that's new business?
Yeah.
Okay, so no fee resolutions. New business is annual evaluation increases on here.
Okay, so right now we give an annual, so in addition to the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, we give an anniversary increase of 1.5%. So it's 1% or 0.75 down a step and 0.75 or sorry, 0.75% down and then oh my gosh, okay, let me start over. 0.75 for the year that they've been here and 0.75 for a merit increase. But we're looking at creating more incentive-based increases. So we are trying to focus on, and we would like to increase that to be a total of 3%, looking at 3 different areas, looking at job performance, attendance and reliability, and then also having individual goals for people. One of the reasons we wanted to do individual goals was that there's different areas of improvement that everyone can have. So we want to look at all of the goals to make sure it's something harder than, oh, they picked up a piece of trash or, I mean, so we're trying to find ways to make it a little bit fairer, but also make it where it's goals that are specific to their own position, because each position is slightly different.
Dr. Kingsley, would you mind continuing the meeting? I have a patient issue I address. I'm gonna step out.
Yeah, do your thing. Yep, that's fine.
So just as an example of what Taylor was explaining, is this is a typical pay scale. So what she is saying is like someone starts brand new, no experience in a position, they start on step 1A. After a year, currently, if they make it to 2 years, they go down 1. So that's their increase. So for this position, it'd be $11. And this is a bi-weekly pay scale, so 26 pay periods in a month or in a year, and then one over. So they made it the year and they performed all their general duties satisfactorily. So they would now be, for the next year, B2, they would make $23 more every 2 weeks. So that's what she's explaining how it currently is.
So it's 1.5 down and 1.5 over.
Yeah,
So it's 0.75.
Or 0.75, so it's 1.5 total, yes,
and
okay,
total, that'd be 1.5.
1.5, yes,
Right.
okay,
Does that make sense? I
yes,
thought maybe if you saw it,
yes,
you could,
Right.
it is so much better.
Yes. That's what I was trying to explain with the steps.
So
And you're
going over
saying-
that real quick. So you said the fiscal impact would be approximately 15,000 in 2027. That's 15,000 total. All employees thrown into the same kitty is 15,000, or is that per employee?
That would be total for all employees if everyone were to reach all three of those measures. So I don't think that we're going to be necessarily giving out all of them to everyone, but it is possible that they could get up to all three of those. So that would be the maximum amount that it would be. And then the other part of this is our plan is essentially to introduce it this year, so people can make those individual goals and be aware that this is happening. We think that this will also help us improve with some attendance issues as well. So it wouldn't start till the following year, but we would just introduce it this year so everyone is aware that it's happening, and know that they would be eligible for it in 2026.
So how will you, so like the job performance, so you would meet with each employee like once a year, 3 times a year, start making all these expectations. And then on top of job performance, they would have individual goals, and they would have to meet those individual goals per your annual performance meeting. I guess, how do you keep everything honest and objective as much as possible?
So we do annual performance evaluations, but we also do regular one-on-ones with our employees. So we're talking about those things, like every month. But then we also do a review every year. So we have sheets that we fill out, which some of them have division-specific aspects, but they're all very similar.
I like it
So
because
the individual goals, though, that's not so much job performance. That's them working on their resume, essentially trying to build up their whatever their, I guess, their resume, right? What skill sets they have and all that. Is that kind of what the individual goal stuff is?
so it could be any number of things, but, and you all are familiar with my review, so I'm going to just kind of walk through what that might look like. Because ultimately what this would mean is I walk in here, I would be eligible up to a 3% increase. I'm going to get 0.75 just for surviving another year. Then currently, like, there's a review sheet that has all my essential job duties on it. And if I have performed overall adequately on those, I would get another 0.75. Then the next thing you would look at is Andrew here. Is he meeting, and we'll have different criteria for different things. But is Andrew here at least when he needs to be here? So if I'm only showing up 10 hours a week, then we have a problem, and I'm not going to meet this 0.75 incentive. We know that that's, at least for me, I don't think anyone thinks that. So we're going to say I meet that one. On the individual goals, what's going to happen at my review is you are going to, and in the past you've said over the next year, we really need to see a succession plan that Dan's leaving. We need to see what's going to happen. The document, and basically what I provided at my last review was all the accomplishments that had happened based on the feedback that you'd given the year before. So hopefully you know, that was a little more informal than what we're going to be. But that is exactly what we would be doing, is setting these individual goals of what we expect extra. Does that answer your question, Dr. Kingsley?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to make it as objective as possible, because what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna go from the 1.5% increase on your employee evaluation and whatever, plus the COLA, right, which is usually, I don't know, 2.5 to 3%. So you're gonna go from 4.5% increase every year of your salary up to possible 6%, correct? So I just want to make sure people aren't thinking we're trying to milk the system and give everybody, super duper raises all the time. If you can truly show objective data showing that they truly did, they went above and beyond, and they truly did what they needed to do to get that, I have no problem with that. I just don't want people milking the system.
I have a question. If I look, I understand everything that's been said. I read what's in front of me here, and I see where it says the maximum increase is 1.5% per year, and at the bottom says the maximum total annual pay increase under the process would be 3%. Where's the other 1.5% come from?
It's already happening. That's what's happening.
Okay, so this is about the evaluation increase.
Right.
Is, where does the three, so I understand we've got a protocol here, or policy.
Yeah, I think just.
So right now, a new person starts at step 1A,
Okay,
1530. After a year, they have their annual review. Because they made it to year 2, they are now going to go down to 1541, and this is a 2-week time. This is a 2-week pay period. And if they have met all their essential duties, they move over to the right one. So if they get all the raises they can get, they are moving from 1530 to 1553 and this is a real pay scale. So this is what it would look like for entry level person. They're going to get $23 more a month or a pay if they do everything right.
And if they don't,
that's
they
up
would stay at 2A. Is that correct?
Right. If they
Yeah.
don't meet.
If they don't meet, they do get that for being there that next
Next
year.
so everybody does everything they're supposed to based on what's written in there. It goes up, they get the 0.75 plus another 0.75, so that's 1.5.
Right.
All right. And we have another policy that is, we meet their COLA, correct?
That is separate.
Okay,
The
that's
COLA
separate.
is just market adjusting
Okay.
the pay scale.
I guess I'm lost where that 3% comes in at the bottom of that document.
So I think it's
So
like
3% is what we're proposing.
0.75, I think, right?
So if you look at 5A,
Year and then 3 measures.
so 1577 is 5A there.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is for this new program, you move down 1 because you've now gone from year 5 to year 6.
0.75.
If you meet all of your normal job duties, you go to 1601. Then we have 2 more categories. If you meet all your attendance and reliability metrics, you go another 0.75. And then if you get to all of your plans that you have made the last year with your supervisor, and what Taylor didn't mention is it's not just your supervisor that has to sign off on it. It has to go through up to me.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that you don't get a goal of your goal is to say hi to 5 people to be super friendly. And then Kim's goal is to get a doctorate in preventive medicine.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't want that happening. Everyone needs to have reasonable goals, but they need to be something that is actually a goal that is, they have to work.
Yeah, and how many, so the other thing, I know when I was evaluated over at Park Hill, I had to do the job performance was one thing. And then I like that attendance and reliability, but that wasn't in it. And then I had to do an individual goal. It had to be one thing that was measurable and very objective. So to try and have people do 3 or 4 under there might not be, are you looking at one thing for them?
It's primarily one thing, but it kind of depends on what that one thing is.
Okay,
We're trying to
so the
make sure,
manager would
we're
say
trying to
we
make
need something
sure
more.
they're
Okay.
consistent for
So-
each job. We have a wide variance of types of
Yes,
people that work
working
here.
Right.
So,
So it has to be a stated goal that you both agree upon initially when you meet.
right, and that's,
And then,
And
then that goal,
I think the thing I'm trying to make sure is maybe I'm the only one who's obtuse to glancing at this. If I was an employee and figuring out how much max I can get, that's 3% here. And the breakdown of it is 0.75 just for being alive and having a pulse and still being employed. Another 0.75 for meeting job tasks and performance expectations for a minimum of 1 point. So you get that 1.5. But then there's under the proposed process, another 0.75 for these 3 performance measures. So if they hit all of those, that's another 2.25.
So the
that first one is the one they're already doing.
Okay,
That job performance.
it's already
Sorry,
included in the
it's
others.
very hard to explain this. In
Okay,
the- in
So
the-
you have to read that paragraph above that.
Okay,
So under the proposed process, employees would receive the anniversary increase of 0.75 and then up to 3 performance-based steps at 0.75 each.
And then the
So when she
attendance and
dissected
individual
that,
goals is kind of-
She, there wasn't an ad, it's the whole thing.
as long,
Right.
So
it's
attendance and
3%
reliability is
Okay.
0.75 and individual goals is
Okay.
0.75.
Right.
I got it.
So it's what we have and then the last
So
2.
that goes.
So
This,
currency and then.
mhm.
under
Yeah,
the
goes with this.
proposed
if you, your
process,
administrative staff and the
Delineate
employees
the-
can look
So
at
the
this and
max is.
feel
3.
like they know what they can get, how to get it, and it makes sense to them, I'm good.
I would put that,
Can I throw my 2
Right.
cents in here? So
Yeah.
Andrew and I kind of already talked about this. And so I guess the way I would look at it is the first 0.75 and the second 0.75, which would be the job performance. That is what we're already doing at this time. Now, the
Right.
attendance and reliability and the individual goals, that's the icing on the cake. That's getting people, changing people's framework from, I'm just doing this job to do my shift and I just want to go home to, oh, by the way, I want to make sure I get good attendance. I want to make sure I follow through on things. I also have my own personal goals so that I can expand on my personal, whatever goal that might be, or personal ambitions or whatever it might be, that is an objective goal. And then all of a sudden, maybe after 2 or 3 years, that employee changes from someone that's just there just to get a paycheck to, I'm actually invested in the health department. I want to make this place better for myself as well as for everybody else.
Yeah.
Now,
Right,
that may be
exactly.
fool's gold. That might be fool's gold, but I think it's essentially putting a carrot in front of the horse to get it really up and running.
And I do not expect people to all get 3%.
No, I'm just trying to make
What
sure
I
it's clear.
expect at best is a normal curve. Is we're going to have some people who are going to nail it. Some people are going to be in the middle. They may not get one of these,
Mhm.
but they get one extra one. And then there's going to be some people that don't meet any of the new criteria.
A lot of times is what companies will, just speaking from management experiences, they will, if you submit a above average or excellent review, sometimes it is questioned and then it goes right back down to the person that submitted it for more information. It's just not that straightforward and easy to go, okay. I mean, it
So-
sounds, that's what I've experienced where I work now too. It's changed.
So for years, we have had they meet expectations or doesn't
Yeah.
meet. And one of the things that as we go through our management training that we are really focusing on is honestly, if I show up for my annual evaluation and it's all a surprise to me, you guys are not doing a very good job of managing me.
Mhm.
I should know what all the problems are before I walk in that door, or if there are problems. And that is really one of the things Taylor mentioned, our one-on-ones and having time with people at least once every 2 weeks. where we are sitting down with them to discuss their performance. That is why we have set up the whole chain of command structure, or the chain of command that we have and our span of control that we have, is so we can make sure we communicate those things. So,
And the other thing too, I'd like to add is that, people that understand money and understand compound interest and that whole idea, if you come in and you put in a good 20, 30 years at the health department and you did all these criteria and you maxed out your income, you're going to see a sizable return at the end. And so hopefully this also helps people want to stay and continue working there for more than just a year or two and then move on, that they're there for 20, 30 years and retire. If you do this right, you could build up your salary pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the things, just like attendance and reliability, is going to be a fairly easy one to set for each individual's job. But the individual goals, I think, I'm sure you guys will do this, but making it a collaborative effort with the employee rather than like assigning them a goal or,
Right.
hey, what goal do you want? You know, and it being more of a back and forth of like, here's something that I think is, achievable, but not just like a shoe in either. I think that's going to be important. Something you guys will have to take on.
and that's why we have, or when we discussed it, Zach, we have the review by not only the direct supervisor, but by the next supervisor and me. Because when you have all these individual goals, we can't have Dustin setting goals and just deciding that's the goal. And they're super hard because he's a hard person to work for. And then Rebecca is over here setting goals of like, you have to say a goal that you don't know every week. Well, those aren't equitable goals. So we are trying to make sure that we set them collaboratively at a certain level.
What do we do if somebody isn't currently meeting their attendance goals? Outside of this,
It becomes a discipline issue and a complex discipline issue.
understood. And so I'm looking at how much incentive this is, how much of a carrot this really is versus a stick.
Well, the sting we've been doing not very effectively for a couple years. And that is why we want the carrot.
Which was to my next point, that if we do this and, if somebody's not, you look for new people, but in this job market, it's challenging. So I think it'll be interesting to see how much of a decrease on disciplinary action on attendance is and how much this may fix it. There may be another quality improvement. Pearl, you keep close to the vest and track how this did and then share it with everyone else.
That's our
perspective. Is that your plan?
Steal my stuff, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's, if it makes sense, it makes sense. The only critical thing I have about this is it doesn't come across as really easy to read, but if everybody understands it,
So
if you guys understand it.
As well, that goes along with it. We are just
This is our,
fine tuning it.
this is our
still,
simple explanation to you,
so it's
which
simple.
wasn't exactly simple.
It's okay. I
but
understand.
For the policy, it will be much more detailed because we'll have to,
Okay.
but before we spent the time to do that.
So this
we
is
need
more
to
of an
see if the-
informational heads up. We're coming back with a policy.
This is our request to you to allow us to move forward.
And you guys will get the policy. Okay. Any other further discussion on this?
Good.
I will entertain a motion to approve the annual evaluation increases. With the expectation to review the policy once I think we'll get to review the policy when it comes through.
We'll let you see it.
Great.
Yeah. It'll most likely go through finance committee, but at that point, we won't need any sort of, we'll present it to the board and we'll address anything that you have concerns with and provide that update.
Sounds good.
At that, I guess you won't really be approving the policy because you are approving this. for us to
Okay.
develop.
So we need to make a.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Oh, okay.
We need a motion. Who wants to make a motion to accept the annual evaluation increases?
I'll move to amend the annual employee evaluation and pay increase process to include length of service and performance-based measures up to 3%.
There a second?
A second.
All right, so Susan made a motion, Kim seconded. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, Dr. Kingsley,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes,
Kim,
Yes.
Michael's yes, Zach
Yes.
approves. All right,
This last one is, to approve an amendment to the public health emergency preparedness contract, excuse me. The request of the director to sign a public health emergency preparedness contract amendment with Missouri Department of Health and Human Services, Health and Senior Services for the period of July 1st, 2025 through, June 30th, 2026. The crux of this is that the original contract amount was for $20,000, $20,052. This amendment gives us an additional $19,622 for a total amount of $39,674. I'm not gonna act like this was like above and beyond, just they weren't quite sure if they were gonna get this full amount, so they gave everyone half.
Oh.
And then once it came down for the federal, they gave us the other half. I would love to say that I went out, that is this wonderful award, but I cannot say that.
good.
But this, I know, I cannot tell a lie. So this kind of puts us on par with what we normally get each year. So that would be the recommended motion is written there.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Entertain a motion?
I move to authorize the director to sign the PAGP contract amendment with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Susan seconds it. There's no reason not to discuss it any further. We'll go roll call vote. Dr. Kingsley,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Michael's yes, Zach
Yes.
passes. All right, do we have any executive session items?
No, we do not.
And since there are no guests or visitors, I think public comments, we can move to that. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Next meeting, January 15th. So next year, 6:00.
See y'all in a year.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Seconded.
Zach seconds, roll call vote, Kingsley,